Braddon Snape's a Newcastle-based sculptor. His latest body of work is inflated steel sculptures. They start off as flat sheet, which he cuts to shape and then welds edge seams. They're then inflated using compressed air. I was asked along to have a look at this process and also had a talk with Braddon about his work.
I guess a few things led me down the path which eventuated in this new direction in my work. Previously my work was very much about metaphor and using themes like journey and having sort of the aesthetic of boats and forms, minimal kind of forms. And I was very interested in doing large-scale work that engaged the viewer or the participant physically, so they could actually potentially sort of move in and through the work. Primary thing, I guess, was the undertaking the PhD. The PhD originally was going to be wrapped around what I do in the sort of large-scale public artwork side of things anyway. But, once again, didn't win any projects to work through that area of the PhD, so I was looking for other things to extend my practice, and kind of stumbled across this process of inflating steel. And once I inflated the first inflation, as soon as I did that, I kind of knew that this would be the start of a whole new direction. It was such a sort of, for me, it was such a remarkable process to witness. I just knew straight away it was going to take me off on this new direction. This work is intended to be autonomous, really. The resultant works are all about the process, the material process, the force of air forming these works is so much what the outcome of these works is all about. It's that act of the steel being pushed and forced and being shaped and formed right before our eyes, and it's the result of that process. So ideally it's existing in itself. It's not trying to allude to anything else apart from that act of creation, I guess. The thing I really like about this work, it's given me a real sense of freedom. My previous work was fairly controlled and thought out, and particularly the large work, it was planned out over a reasonably long period of time. Now this work, which I've been developing probably for nearly 3 years now since I did my first inflation, it still has control, but I've given over a lot of control compared to my previous work. So it's a lovely balance between me understanding the process, and the more I do it, the more I understand the process and the kind of results that I'm going to get. But I have a fair idea of what's going to happen every time I do this. But there's always this element of chance or the unknown, as in how the material is going to behave. The material, depending on the shape that I choose, the combination of curve or straight line or convex, concave curves, all those relationships between surface area and so on, they all dictate how this thing might inflate. And then I might add sort of clefts or seams to make the material behave in a certain way for my liking. So it's a real sort of conversation, or a real sort of dance with, you know, what I know and what's going to happen, and what I'm sort of imposing on the material with what the kind of magic of this process throws at me. And that's what I enjoy so much about it. I choose materials. I'm sort of choosing two different types of materials in the exploration of this work. The regular cold rolled mild steel, which ends up needing to be a painted surface, or the mirrored stainless steel, variations on the mirrored stainless steel surface, and both approaches I really enjoy for different reasons. The painted surfaces really sort of turn this thing into such a striking form, and using kind of the more industrial colour alludes to the industry in which this steel is created and these forms sort of come from, although it's completely alien at the same time. One thing I don't like about that process, is that it hides some of the process. You don't see the way the metal's changed by the welding process and so on. So that's what I like about the mirrored stainless steel, is that I don't try and hide the welding of the stainless steel. It gets cleaned up a little bit after the process, but you can actually see the staining or the burning of the edge of the metal from the welding. So it's all there. The whole process is there for you to understand what's happened throughout this. And some of that's come from my PhD research, with reading into things like phenomenology and so on, and just the raw materiality of the process. So the mirrored stuff, the thing I like about that also brings the viewer into the work, which, when I'm talking about the PhD again, it's kind of where my whole PhD research started, where someone who encounters an artwork actually sort of becomes immersed in the work, and one can't exist without the other, that experience. And the mirrored stuff is perfect like that. As you move around it, depending on what environment it's in, it changes, and as you move and experience it, it changes. And under this sort of mangled, buckled surface, it's constantly evolving. Central circle is like, yeah, I'm going to keep going.
Wow. Oh, wow. Oh, it's amazing. It's so cool. How does that feel to see it like that?
Oh, it's great.
Oh,
I'll keep going. I can't help but keep pushing.
Yeah, right.
There's no leaks yet, which is...
So that can happen?
Yeah, by now often I'm getting leaks.
Yeah, right. Oh
can't hear
my
any.
God.
So yeah, potentially sometimes with one like that little yellow one over there, they sort of see how it's folding over.
Yeah.
They fold over. And then they start. This work that I've been developing has been working towards a show at Maitland Regional Art Gallery. Opens in September. So it's been really 3 years of this development of this inflation process, gradually building up and resolving what this show might be. The title for the exhibition at Maitland is Materiality Performed, and I think that's an indicator of one way I think about this work. It is the performative aspect of how the work is created right before your eyes, which is really exciting and exhilarating for anybody to witness, to watch this thing, this thing, form in front of their eyes. And it's exhilarating for me every time. I've done it many times now, but still every time it's exhilarating. And I kind of equate it to action painting, like the sculpture version of Jackson Pollock, laying down paint, dribbling paint. It's kind of the sculpture version of that, being in the moment. Although there's some planning about the form and shape that I'm originally starting with, that being in that moment, inflating and deciding how the materials, being responsive to how the material's behaving, and then deciding how far to push it, how far am I willing to push it, and then that moment where I say, okay, stop, that's enough.
That's probably it. Right, so we've got a big leak here. You can see there's still a lot of pressure in there. So it'll come back a little bit.
Oh, it'll, yeah.
A little bit. All that pressure. Ease back a little bit, because it's always got to go past that point, the crescent hole, but I'll take this off now. I showed you with the bigger rectangle there where it go really heavy in the middle.
Yeah.
Whereas this one didn't so much because I actually scalloped out the side.
Oh, right.
The controls it more.
Yeah, right.
So try things like that.
Definitely that. And because the fold, is that partly the fold, is that how you end up with it? I know you said you can do a different weld or to get the fold bit or...
Oh no, really, the fold was going to be dictated by when you're welding it all together. That's what the walls, this sort of thing.
Yeah. Right.
No, it's balanced. You got it?
Yeah.
You see other options, then you go.
Wow. It is so cool. Wow.
Yeah,
What a
maybe.
privilege to see that happen.
It looks good standing up too.
Recently I secured a large project for Maitland City Council. So it's been perfect timing for exploring this inflated steel process. So I'll be inflating these large mirrored stainless steel cloud forms for this project by the river at Maitland. So I'm very excited about that. There's lots of work to go for that, but that's something to look forward to in the next 12 months or so, the results of that.